Hey friends, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com, and today I want to showcase the Tarot de Marseille Nicola Novaro deck that I received from Benedetti. Now, I mentioned a few videos ago when I purchased the Via Veal, which is his latest his latest deck, which is exceptional, and I already had 5 other Via Veal decks, and I still felt compelled to buy this one from Marco. But in gratitude, he sent me 2 other decks, the Nicola Novaro and his personal Visconti deck. And I really appreciate that. He sent them to me because out of recognition for the fact that many of his customers are you, my subscribers. And they tell him, thank you for telling him. Thank you for telling him. And thank you for telling any of the deck creators that you've seen their decks on my video channels, because I appreciate it. It helps me. Sometimes they throw me some presents. In this case, Marco did, and other deck creators have also sent me gifts. And I've showcased their decks, and in gratitude, they'll send me something. And I appreciate it, and they appreciate the being seen, and they also appreciate knowing where you saw them. So thank you for that. And at any rate, I wanted to talk about the Nicola Novaro, and my next few videos will be in comparing it to other decks in the Piedmont region of Italy, which is where this comes out of. But I also want to, indicate and, make clear that it is a French style deck being printed in Italy. Now, I want to, for those of you who've been with me for a while, you know me and my maps. It's just like, because I think it's fascinating stuff, especially when you're following the trends or you're following a pattern that came from one country into another. We're used to seeing Italian decks going into France, right? And the influence when it migrated to France. But here is an occasion where a French deck migrated into Italy, which is an interesting thing. So let me show you the map. So this map very clearly, here's Italy, here's Sicily, here's Sardinia, here's Tuscany, all that. And the Piedmontese region is in the northwestern region of Italy. Now, if we look at this map, which is a little less easy to see, we can see how Italy and Switzerland are so close, as is Austria and France, right? So here would be where my dirty fingernail, excuse my hands. I've had toddlers with me since last Saturday. So for 8 consecutive days, I had toddlers, and I've scrubbed my hands and with an old toothbrush, and I can't get all the paint and Play-Doh out. So please forgive me. At any rate, so here is the Piedmont region of Italy, and Lyon is over here. That dot, right? And Lyon is maybe a little easier to see. Let's see. Maybe not. Where the heck is it? Oh, here it is. Okay, see, Lyon is here, and this area here is the Piedmont, right? So it's just a stone's throw. So the Nicola Novaro appears to have been, a print, created in Lyon, which somehow Novaro got his hands on. It looks like he got his hands possibly on some old, some blocks from Lyon. If a card maker died, perhaps card makers would buy out the existing blocks from the estate and then use them. So perhaps that's what happened. And so in Italian, Nicola Novaro ended up with these blocks that clearly looked influenced by what was happening in Lyon. And I just thought I'd put that little lesson in there, maybe bring some interest to you. And I want to show you some Italian things that are, you know, the little things that make it Italian too. And the background is a little teaser of what may be coming next, because this deck has prompted me to take a look at a few other decks. So here we have the Fool card. Notice that it's called Le Fool and not Le Mat. This deck, mid-19th century, so it, you know, from the 1850s, currently exists in a British museum. And it's possibly the last TDM1 style ever printed, and I think the only one of its kind printed in Italy. And although, okay, so this is printed sometime in the 1850s, right? So it's late. It's a late date for a TDM1, but I've mentioned many, many, many times that the TDM1 and the TDM2 style coexisted at the same time during the 16 and 1700s. So, and this is 1870, you know, in the 18, I don't know. I don't think Marco gave it a date, but sometime in the mid-1800s. And he's got 1855. So this is probably one of the last or the latest printed TDM1s anywhere, and certainly in Italy. Now notice, and if for those of you who have the, what was the name of that deck? Let me pull it. Yeah, my memory's starting to slip. I can no longer recall things easily. But if you'll notice, the tendency in some Italian decks, especially from this region, have like blousy pants, right? Like real fluffy kind of pants on the Fool. And we see that here, you know, it's kind of a filled out, a balloony kind of trousers on him. We see a little bit in the Piedmontese deck of 1865, and Artisan Tarot did a Trump's only version of the Celestio, you know, so they cleaned it up and you know, gave it a fresh new look. And you can see there's like, you know, some kind of a blousy look, which is typical of the Italian decks at that time. I said I wasn't going to show these now, but I just couldn't resist. What we don't see from the Piedmont region here is the butterfly, which was the first time it occurred, which was in the Vernano deck. And the Vernano is dated 1830, so it's a little earlier than this one. But look at these colors. Now, the colors seem unique, right? The colors don't quite seem to be typical of the Tarot of Marseille. The block and the style might, but the color is something else. And we see some unusual spelling. But this is a juicy deck. You know, the color is delicious. Saturated blue, saturated red, saturated yellow. Look at that yellow, my goodness. Even the orange. So if it wasn't for gifting this to me, I probably wouldn't have bought it because I didn't really know much about it or didn't know anything about it, you know. So being given this deck as a courtesy for exposing Marco's decks to so many people, it allows me to share this deck. So that's why it's important, you know, when you purchase a deck that you view on the videos, to please tell the creators where you saw it. because in turn it allows me to show you more decks, because every now and then they'll throw me a gift, you know. And so here we clearly see TDM1. Now, I don't think there was a 4 in the Emperor. No, there was no 4. But clearly, I think we're going to see TDM1 in every other way except for, you know, on the Emperor. But we have the Cupid facing in this direction with blindfold. We have the scalloped canopy. Now we have winged. I'm not sure that that was a TDM, but I'm just pointing it out. Now, had I had this deck when I did the Top Tarot Trumps video challenge by Masha, I would have probably used her also as a Justice card that I prefer, because we see the skewed plates of Justice. She's looking right at us. Justice needs to, not only does Justice need to see all, but we need to feel as though she's penetrating us, because she needs, you know, we need to fear. You know, we need to shake in our boots to, you know, because we're going to get what we have coming to us, because there's no escaping truth. And then she's got, of course, her wings to show that she's a virtue, and then her swift sword of justice. And we have the Hermit. But the colors are just something else. The Wheel. And as always, listen to that deck. If a deck sounds like that, it's a keeper. We see Novaro took the opportunity to put his name on the side there. That's interesting. That's an interesting spelling, but here it's more typical. There's my boyfriend. I think this will definitely become a favorite of my TDMs. I'm not partial. I mean, I have a lot of TDM decks. Don't get me wrong. I have a lot, but I'm not partial to them. I'm partial to the Italians, but I don't know. Maybe it's because of the Italian influence of the juicy color, you know? I don't know, but there's something about this deck, even though it's French in origin in you know, many regards, it speaks to me because it's so juicy. Fabrica du Anglia Anglia. Somebody tell me if you know. King d'Épée. I'm sorry, that's very childish. Now notice this. We're going to see that when we compare it to other other decks. Look at her face. Are you noticing any similarities to certain decks? The sense of, I'm not sure what deck it was, but it looks a lot like something I've seen before. Oh, this is interesting here. I love it. D'Épée. And here Marco has this odd swords go facing up. Oh, these are 10. Okay, that's 10, but it's still facing up. And the odd 9 is up. 8, 7 up. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh, look how delicious. Oh, this deck is so beautiful. And look at that Ace of Swords. Yeah, this is a really nice TDM. We've seen this before. Very bright yellows. Beautiful. All the colors are just saturated, just beautiful. And we see that Nicola took the opportunity to carve his name in the existing block. He didn't date it, however. Look at that red. Oh my goodness. So I hope you enjoyed this brief video of the Nicola Novaro TDM1 style, perhaps the last of its kind, and maybe the only one of its kind printed in Italy. Until next time, friends, peace, stay well, be kind, do no harm, and give me a thumbs up, please, and a subscription if you appreciate my channel. Thanks.